Hey everyone. So I want to record this little extra bonus YouTube only lecture. That's going to be about 10 minutes to just show you how to hide an API key from GitHub. Now, an API key is something like this. It's something that a lot of APIs give developers so that they can access their platform via programming, right? Um, Now, the reason we want to hide this from GitHub is that giving someone your API key is like giving them your password to whatever you're on. If this is Yelp, right? And I doubt that this is a thing you can do on Yelp. I don't think you can order through their API. But imagine that you could. By giving this API key out, someone would be able to order a lot of pizzas on my account or something else. Um, so our goal is to hide this API key from GitHub. GitHub has a lot of bots that crawl GitHub looking for API keys that then they can exploit. So by pushing your key up to GitHub, you risk losing personal money or losing personal information or being locked out of a system, which is usually the most likely situation. So it's really helpful to get into the habit of learning how to hide these in your code early. Now, hiding code presents a challenge, right? Because you eventually want to have a repo up that you can download to another computer and start working on it. To make that work, developers have come up with a system called environmental variables. I'm going to give you a gem for doing just that. The goal here is to create a file where everyone has to create their own on their computer in order to use it. And then you add it to a README, let people know what's going on. And the best tool for that is the .env gem. And what it's going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to define variables in a different file that we can hide from GitHub. So let's start with hiding something from GitHub. I'm going to go ahead and I have this new empty repo. I'm going to touch readme.md. I'm going to touch run.rb. And then I'm going to cool. And what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to git init. And now you'll notice that these turn green to show that they haven't been committed to GitHub yet. They haven't been added. They haven't been set up. But they are still, and they're not being tracked by my Git repository on a local machine. What git init does, right, is it creates this .git folder that has a lot of stuff that relates to GitHub on it. Now, one thing that you can use to customize which files are sent up to GitHub is to create a git ignore file. And we use .git ignore when we're doing this. And this is going to create a little file right here. And in this file, any file name that we pass in or little relative path will be hidden from GitHub. So if I didn't want to push up run.rb, I could put run.rb here. And you'll notice now this goes gray. It's not going to try to, if I try to do git add dot, it is not going to show run.rb. It's going to show our git ignore file. It's going to show our readme file, right? Not our git ignore file. Now at this point, you could use this to solve the whole problem on its own. You could always like create a hidden variables.rb, right? And then you could like just declare variables there, and then like do a require relative. We really want we don't want our Ruby code to completely break when we do this. And there's a .env is often a better pattern right here. So I'm going to show you this next step. But the important thing to know is that git ignore is a hugely useful tool for making sure things are hidden from GitHub. Now, the second thing I'm going to show you, though, is this .env gem. To use it, we first have to gem install .env, right? And then I'm going to copy this little code right here from Sinatra or plain old Ruby in their README, require.env.load, or these two together. And then I'm going to just create a new file that we generally call .env. Now, I'm going to paste this into my run.rb. I'm going to make sure .env is hidden from GitHub. And then the last thing I'm going to do, right, is I'm going to just declare a variable in in like the syntax that .env suggests writing it. So if I go Batman equals Robin right here, that's going to be the way that we define a variable called Batman in our env file, right? I can now go ahead. Let's put env a key of Batman. What env operates as is just a big hash. And if we do Ruby run.rb, you'll see that Robin gets put out. So if I want to hide my API key, what I would do is something like this. Whoops. And then if I wanted to also make sure I had my client ID, client ID equals loop. And don't copy down mine and then paste it to GitHub. I'm showing you my API key in confidence. I've called this Yelp key. I can call this Yelp client ID. And then we can even just do a little binding.pry action to make sure that we can do it. So yeah, you'll see that now it's printed out both my API key and my client ID, and it's hit this binding.pry. If we look into it, we'll see that env is actually a hugely complicated hash of all of the different things that like is just tracking how Ruby is currently running. It's our environmental data, right? So in it though, we now have these two keys that we've stored. Now, at this point, if I git add dot git commit m show end of demonstration, this is not where I expected. Oh, I'm in the pry. Classic. Git status, git add dot, git commit m end of demonstration, git. Now I can't push yet because I haven't set something up on GitHub, but if I do, github.com, whoop, whoop, using .env. Now create this repository. I can add this all up. And now you'll notice, first off, .env is gray. That's what you want. Second, if I refresh the page, you'll notice that .env does not exist here. In order for someone else to be able to use your app, We don't need this in Ruby. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And now everyone will know how to get your app started. Yes, this means that people can't just boot your code out of the box. But the moment you start pushing API keys to GitHub is a bad move. People see that as a red flag. Get in the habit now of hiding them. I will build out this README to have all of the steps right here, and then I'm going to push this up. But make sure that you never push an environmental or an API key up to GitHub. Cool. Thanks, guys.